Okay, again, welcome everyone. Again, really nice, lovely to see. And again, I couldn't be in person today because my nephew was visiting me for a couple of days, few days, and he wanted to go to White Sand, and we just drove from there this morning. So again, driving from there and then the house, that might be too much. So okay, so again, just try to make yourself comfortable, relax. And let go of any stiffness, tension in your body. And see if you can let go of all the thought about the past and futures. And trying to be moment present. By bringing your attention to the breath. Watching it mindfully. And being aware that you are breathing in as you breathe in. And being aware you are breathing out as you breathe out. Simply just observing mindfully and being aware. Nothing more than that. And if your mind started to wander off or started to become more dull, try to be more alert and try to bring your mind or your attention to the breath. Again, anytime it goes away, try to bring it back. Then we can try to cultivate and generate good intention, motivation for being here. For example, we can think, contemplate life as full of problems and challenges in this ordinary samsaric life. Physical discomfort, illness, sometimes it's too hot, sometimes it's too cold. Sometimes feel too hunger, sometimes it's too full. And then, with the agings, we feel more weak, not as strong as before. And then one day we have to live the life, leaving everything behind. And also, there's a lot of emotional, sometimes feel frustrated, impatience, feel our mind very down, low, fear, anxiety, worries. So we have to experience all of that in this samsaric ordinary life. So such ordinary samsaric life is not so easy and not so comfortable. And the reason why we have all this problem, challenges, difficulty, pain, suffering is because of our own contaminated actions or karma and the delusions. As long as we have the delusions, as long as we continue to create contaminated karma due to those delusions, there's no end to all the sufferings. We'll continue to experience endlessly. But we don't have to experience all these sufferings, all those problems, pain, endlessly. If we can stop creating more contaminated karma, and if we can destroy those defilement, the delusions, we can end such samsara rebirth, and by ending the samsara rebirth, we can end all the suffering that arises because of samsara rebirth permanently, forever. Therefore, there is an end. There can be an end, and end is possible. Cessation is possible. And the way to end the suffering and the cause of suffering, and to achieve that cessation or nirvana, is by cultivating and actualizing the path within our mind stream, the Eightfold Path. And in order to actualize and cultivate that Eightfold Path within our mind stream, we need to contemplate, meditate correctly, continuously. And for that, we need to study, learn. We need to be reminded of those practice again and again. For that very reason, with that hope that we come here together. May us coming together to listen, to engage in discussion, reflection, contemplations. Due to all of this, may oneself and all sentient beings be able to generate the Eightfold Path within their mind stream. And obtain non-abiding nirvana or fully awakened state. So we can be greatest help and benefit to all other sentient beings and oneself. And may we be able to apply, integrate, implement in our everyday life as much as possible. Whatever we learn, whatever helpful, beneficial practice, meditation, tools, tips we learn from our studies. Okay, so if we can share to the founder, the endowed, transcendent, destroyer, the one gone beyond, the four destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect knowledge, innate good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide for human beings to be tamed, teacher of God and human beings to you, the complete and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent, destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, offering and go for it. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent, destroyer, the one gone beyond, the four destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge, in good conduct, Sukha, the knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of God and human beings to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent, destroyer, glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya plane, I prostrate, make offering, go for it. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the fourth destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct. Sugata, the Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of God and human beings to you, the complete and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya claim, I prostrate, make offering, go for refuge. Sa shi pu ye chong xin me do da re ra li ji ni de yen ba de sang ge shin do mi de u wa do pen nama da shin Sherab, Egam Guru Rana Mandala Dayami. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create to listen to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all senses. Sangye Chodan Soge Chonam La Changju Badu Daya Dagi Shushe Gibe Sonam Dola Benze Sangye Dola Sangye Chodan Soge Chonam La Changju Badu Daya Dagi Shushe Gibe Sonam Dola Benze Sangye Dola Kanje Tujen Yezone Da Tumje Bameze Tambi Suni Tete Kodam De La Cha Cha. So again, welcome everyone, and again, thank you for joining today. And so far, we have discussed, we have started discussing about the Four Noble Truth. We discussed about the noble truth of suffering, noble truth of origin, the noble truth of cessation, and then the fourth noble truth of path. And so we are on that. And within the truth of noble path, so on the Eightfold Noble Path, and within the Eightfold Noble Path, we discuss about, the path of right speech, right livelihood, right actions. Those three as part of training, perfecting ethical discipline, part of training and perfecting the ethical discipline. And then, secondly, then we discuss about, right effort, and right mindfulness. So within the right mindfulness, in training mindfulness, right mindfulness, we discuss about how to develop mindfulness, strong mindfulness and alertness by different practice meditations on the mindfulness of body, and within the mindfulness body, again, as I mentioned, there are many different practices, on the breathing, mindfulness of the breathing, the mindfulness of the bodily sensations, the mindfulness of the body scannings, and the mindfulness of through that scannings, being aware of everything in and out in your body, knowing more about your bodies. and through that better understanding and more awareness of that, then having less, desire and attachment to the bodies, whether your own body, bodies of others. So through that practice, meditation, it helps us to overcome the strong attachments, whether it's a strong attachment to your own body or a strong attachment to others' bodies. And then we also talk about the mindfulness on the feelings, and then again through the practice meditation on mindfulness, feelings, then we begin to understand how these feelings, those contaminated feelings, our ordinary contaminated feeling, are, in the nature of, fleeting, transitory, momentary, also we begin to be more aware through that mindfulness on the feelings, how those feelings, even pleasant feeling or neutral feeling, they do not last, for long. A lot of time those feelings change into unpleasant feelings, painful feelings. Sometimes those feelings, pleasant feeling at the very beginning lead to some kind of disappointments instead of leading to more and more pleasant feeling, more and more happiness, more and more joy, satisfaction. Instead, after sometimes those feelings that you feel joyful at the very beginning, we see that they are actually transformed into some kind of more disappointment, and sometimes in the pain and sufferings. And even it doesn't transform in those, we begin to see those feeling do not pleasant feeling, joyful, happy feeling, that they do not give out lasting happiness. They are all kind of, appear and disappear very quickly and become transitory, momentary. And so through that kind of understanding and awareness, then we begin to again be aware how those feelings, they are not in the nature of true happiness or lasting happiness, because we see, with our own mindfulness, and that awareness help us to be aware and realize all this contaminated feeling, even the pleasant ones, even the nice feeling and pleasant one, even they, they are not true happiness. They do not last they do not give us lasting happiness at all. So through that kind of realization, we come to understand, those all contaminated feelings are in some way in the nature of dissatisfactions, sufferings, and to understanding that. Through that understanding, awareness, again, it helps us to be not to be attached to those feelings, even the pleasant feelings, even the joyful feeling. Not so then it helps us not to be so strongly clinging, grasping, and attached to those feelings. So the third mindfulness practice meditation is the mindfulness of the mind, consciousness, and so part of that practice, the mindfulness of the mind consciousness, then we again trying to practice, bring our awareness, bring our mindfulness and alertness, and trying to, with that mindful, alert mind, strong attention, then we try to look in your mind, whether your mind is, craving or whether your mind is not craving. whether your mind is angry or whether your mind is not angry, whether your mind is deluded or whether your mind is not deluded, whether your mind is concentrated or whether your mind is distracted, and so forth. Through that kind of mindfulness, alertness, then we begin to understand. In this way, we begin to understand and be aware of the movement of the mind. Different, how those different mind appear and how those different mind disappears. One moment, our mind is under the influence of craving. Another moment, that craving is gone. When there is some change in the conditions, cause and conditions. One moment we're not angry, another moment we're angry. One moment we're angry, another moment we're not angry. One moment we are ignorant and deluded, another moment there's more clarity and less ignorance and delusions. And so, one moment where it seems like we are able to concentrate better, another moment we are distracted. One moment our mind is distracted, another moment we are able to concentrate and our mind is able to concentrate. So through that, we see the minds, in the different states, sometime positive states, sometime in negative state, sometime in more neutral states. So we see all the movement of our mind, going from one state to another state, and all, and how those different minds affect us, how those different minds affect others. The result of those different minds, different state of mind, how it affects us, positively or negatively, and how those minds appear due to certain causal conditions, and how those minds disappear due to certain causal conditions. So we try to, be more watching it mindfully, all of that, and being aware of all of that, and understanding your own mind better through that. Understanding your own mind better in that way, and also understanding how, whether it's positive, negative, whether it's neutral mind, all those different minds, begin to see all of them are impermanent, down-story, momentary, ever-changing, never lasting permanently. Anger does not last permanently. Even in a moment of non-anger, it arises, such as love, compassion. Even that doesn't last permanently. In the moment we feel strong attached, craving, that does not last. Sometimes we feel detached, again, also that mind does not last. So through that, begin to be aware and understanding the movement of our mind, the arising of mind, disappearing of our mind, different cause and condition that give rise to those different minds, different cause and condition that give that make disappear of those minds. And so through that, then we begin to understand, the impermanent nature of mind, the impermanent nature of the mind, how our mind is ever changing all the time, how our mind is always moving, never being in one object, one place. how our mind is, transforming. And through that, again, by understanding the transitory nature of the mind, the momentary nature of the mind, um, impermanent nature of the mind, then again, it helps us to not to get so attached to the positive state of mind. At the same time, not to have too much strong aversion to those negative state of minds. So because you see, even those, negative state of mind, they are also momentary, they are transitory, they are ever changing. So there's no need to hold strong aversion toward that, strong dislike towards that. Um, um, on the other hand, even those positive state of mind, even they are also, impermanent, ever changing, transitory. By understanding that, being aware, also not being attached to them, it helps us not to be attached to them, and not strongly clinging, grasping, being attached to them. And so by understanding that momentary, transitory, impermanent nature of the mind, so therefore it helps to find more equanimity, whatever experiences appears, whatever experiences we experience, whatever different state of mind, whatever state of mind it appear, not being so attached to some, not being so much aversion to others, instead, being more equanimity, more tranquility, so by being that, then it doesn't affect you so negatively. And also by that, you also doesn't affect others negatively, due to your own negative feelings. So that is the mindfulness meditation on the mind, third one, and then fourth one, the mindful meditation on sometimes the dharma, the phenomena. Basically, it is, mindful meditation on, in regard to the ideas, thought, conceptions, things, so. And so again, with that mindfulness, alertness, then we try to look in the nature of those things, the nature of, all the ideas, thoughts, conceptions, all the things, whatever, external, internal, whatever that, trying to look in the nature of those objects, in the nature of those phenomena, with a very strong mindful mind, very strong alert mind, and again looking at them, how they appear and how they disappears, and how they develop, and how they are being kind of suppressed and destroyed and so on, again look at it, ideas, some bad idea or good idea or neutral idea arises, and then again it disappears. Certain conceptions, good, bad, neutral conception arises, again it disappears. Certain perceptions, thoughts arises, comes and goes. So again, all the things come into existence, and then again they disintegrate. So again, due to certain cause and conditions, those different objects, things, those different ideas, concepts, those different perceptions arise or develop, and then due to certain cause and conditions, those same ideas, those same concept, perception, objects changes, and those being suppressed and destroyed and so forth, So looking that, and also, looking the nature of, through mindfulness, looking the nature of all those phenomena of objects, how all those objects are interconnected, interrelated, the nature of all these external, internal objects are interdependent, interconnected, how nothing exists independently by itself. So through mindful alertness, penetrating that nature of those objects. And through that, when you understand that, profound nature of those phenomena, through such strong mindfulness and that strong alertness, then, again, we don't get strong attached to some object, and neither we have strong aversion to certain objects. Neither we have a strong liking to some objects, neither we have a strong disliking to some other objects. So again, we learn to be more, equanimity, without, and tranquility, without strong grasping, clinging, and without being so strong attached to some and so strongly aversion to others. Okay, so that is the so. So those are the kind of the 4 mindfulness meditations in regard to 4 different objects. Okay, the body, the feeling, the mind, and the other phenomena. And with that, it includes all the objects, all the phenomena within the object of your mindfulness meditation and practice. So that is the right mindfulness, okay? And then next one is the right concentrations. So the right concentrations, so the right effort and the right mindfulness help to develop a strong right concentrations, and right concentrations is a strong, mind that, that you are able to concentrate, without any wandering or distracted mind, without any kind of dull mind, or but with, completely, fully, single pointedly concentrated to the object of the meditations, and not only fully concentrated without any distractions, but also to be able to be very alert and clarity, having the very clarity in your mind. Sometimes we could have a single pointed concentration without distraction, but our mind, while we are not distracted, our mind can be not so clear. There's no so clear in mind, where your mind can become a little bit kind of dull. So free from that, free from such dullness, as well as the distraction, excitement, but to be able to keep your single pointedly to the object of your meditations, whatever that object might be. The object of your concentration can be the breath. The object of your concentration, can be the sensations. in your bodies, or any part of the bodies. It could be, objects such as the image of the Buddhas, or it doesn't have to be image of the Buddhas. It can be any kind of others image as well. Or it could be the object of your concentration, can be the nature of your mind, whether it is a conventional nature of mind or ultimate nature of your mind. So whatever, it could be any of the objects, external object, internal objects, external objects such as the breath, the image, and so forth. Internal objects such as the nature of the mind, the mind itself, the nature of the mind. So again, whatever you use, the objects, the point is, trying to hold your mind, to the objects, and when your mind get distracted or fall into the dullness, through mindfulness, being aware of that, oh, my mind is distracted, oh, my mind is falling into a dullness, through that awareness, through mindfulness, you are then again, if you are feeling a dull, trying to make it more alert, and if you are distracted, trying to bring your mind to the objects. You can also tie your, wild mind to the objects of the meditation all the time. You bring it back to the objects, always bring it back. Again, try to hold and keep the object in your meditation, in your practice. And then, when you are trying to concentrate, sometimes there is interference, obstacles of, excitements, distractions, or sometimes, there is a interference and obstacles of, your mind not having clarity, but more kind of dull, laxity, and when you are falling in one of those obstacle interference, again, try and be more aware and mindful of that, and then try to apply whatever antidote tool to reduce and overcome those interference obstacles, whether it is the distraction, excitement, or whether it's dullness and laxity. Different meditation, different practice, different method. Applying that to overcome them, and then through overcoming, and so to overcome the interference or the obstacle to develop single-pointed concentrations, one of the main method is the vigilant or introspection mind and mindfulness. Through the mindfulness, we try to keep our mind focused on the objects, whatever objects, trying to keep your focus, your attentions, your mind to the objects, and then introspection mind is time to time, investigating, analyzing whether your mind is fully focused on the object or not, whether your mind is fully concentrated or attentive to the object or not, whether your mind is falling under the influence or the interference of excitement and distraction or not, whether your mind is falling under the interference of dullness and laxity or not. The moment you, through that introspection mind, when you become aware, then again try to bring back your mind to the object, and trying to hold with that mindfulness, and trying to hold your mind to that object, trying to hold your mind to the object with that mindfulness. And so that is, and it is mentioned, the advice is at the very beginning when you're training, we try to use the introspections or the vigilant mind more often. And as you get better with your meditation, concentrations, then we use less and less of that. You don't have to check your mind with that introspection mind, whether you are distracted or not, whether your mind is falling in dullness or not, because your concentration has improved, your mindfulness improved, so you don't get distracted easily. You don't get under the influence of dullness easily. So it requires less of that, the job of introspections or the vigilant mind to investigate. But at the very beginning, when you are still at the very beginning, we need to use that quite often, because if we don't use that, sometimes we are distracted and we are not even aware of that. Sometimes we are falling in the influence of dullness, and we are not even aware of that. So we have to use more. But as you progress on your practice, concentrations, mindfulness get better and better, then that one is required less and less. And then you don't have to do so often. You do once a while, and then again even less as you come, because as your concentration get better, through the mindfulness, as you are able to keep your focus, attention, your mind to the object without any of the interference. If you try to analyze too much with that introspection, then it becomes obstacles. It can become obstacles. So then you don't do so much of that. Then you don't. It's less required. I think, like many of you might have seen, there is an image of elephant and the monk, and monk holding the wild elephant with a chain and then a hook, and there are 9 steps, and and at the very beginning, it's all black, and then there is the monkey, and then that changes. And at the very beginning, the hook is used much. The hook is like the introspections. And then as you progress, and then you don't need a hook anymore to train the elephant, to train the monkey, they just like your dogs, at the very beginning, maybe you have to give them treat, isn't it? When you are trying to teach them, to listen to you, you give them treat each time they do it. But as they get better and better, listening you, listening to you, obeying you, then you don't have to give treat all the time. Then you give once a while, and slowly, you don't have to give treat. They listen what you say. Even without giving treat, if you say, sit, they will sit. Whatever you. So that is similar. That is just like training the dog, for example. At the very beginning, if you don't give the treat, then you will not be able to train, because if you say, they will not, they don't listen. So that is what. So similarly, that is the introspection mind is like a treat that at the very beginning you need more that. As you train better and better, then you need less and less of that. You need less and less of that. And so through the strong practice of introspection and mindfulness, then we train our mind. We train our mind to focus on whatever object we direct. Whatever object we direct, our mind to be attentive, focus, single pointedly, without any distractions. and without any dullness, with a strong single pointed and clarity. And that is the concentrations, that meditative concentration that one try to develop, and we try to develop that meditative concentrations in order to stop from those strong afflictive emotion from arising. When you are in deep single pointed concentration, that it doesn't allow other thoughts, conception to arise. And so there's all the afflictive emotion are concepts, thoughts. And so, it doesn't arise. So it is like, some way of stopping from them from manifesting and arising. At the same time, the meditative concentration is cultivated and developed in order to cultivate the special insight, the wisdom, because that special insight, the wisdom, realizing the emptiness, realizing the ultimate truth, is the direct antidote towards all the afflictive emotions, delusions. It is that wisdom, special insight, that can cut all the delusion, all the afflictive emotion from the very root of it, completely, permanently. The meditative concentrations cannot do that by itself alone. No matter how strong meditative concentration you have, you might be able to concentrate without any distraction, without any dullness, to the object of your meditation for days, weeks, even months. Even you have such concentration, still that concentration will not be able to cut. Without the wisdom, would not be able to cut the delusions, the afflictive emotions completely from the very root of it. It can help stop the delusions, the affliction from manifesting and arising for the moment, as long as you are in that deep meditations. As long as in that deep meditations, as long as you are deep concentration, as long as you are in that deep concentration meditation, it will not give rise to those delusion, afflictive emotion. But when you are not that deep meditations, single pointed in that deep meditation, because you can't be all the time. And so when you are not that, then when sudden cause and condition arises, then delusion can arise. So therefore it cannot cut. So, but with the wisdom, once you develop wisdom, with the wisdom knife or sword, once you cut the very root of the delusions, and permanently, then, later, even when you encounter, cause and condition that normally give rise to delusion, it will not give rise to delusion anymore, because it has been cut from the very root, You might encounter someone who is very nasty to you, very unkind, nasty to you with their actions, behavior, and attitude. But that will not make you upset anymore. That will not make you upset anymore, not angry anymore. The delusions, the anger has been completely cut from the very root of it, with that wisdom, when you see very nice objects, very, pleasant, attractive, very beautiful, nice object, normally that will give rise to, attachment, craving, desire, But once with that wisdom, you have been able to cut from the very root of that, then even when you encounter and meet the most beautiful object in the world, the most pleasant, most best object, it will not give rise to any attachments, because all these afflictive emotions, delusions has been completely cut from the very root of it. And so that is the one that cut all the afflictive emotion delusion from the very root of it is that wisdom, relies on emptiness, the wisdom as ultimate truth. And in order to cultivate that special insight, that wisdom, then one need to have a strong medial concentration, shamatha, and that is the medial concentration, the shamatha. And so these three practice, the practice of right effort, the practice of right mindfulness, and the practice of right concentrations, they are part of the practice of medial concentration, the shamatha. Okay. The first three we discussed is a part of the training in ethical discipline. And these three are part of training the mental discipline. The mental discipline, part of training or mental discipline, or the shamatha or medial concentrations. Okay. So this all fit within within part of that practice. And within the concentration, then there are many different level of concentrations, for dhyanas, in the first dhyanas, medial concentrations, then again through practice on that, one is able to overcome, the strong desire towards the desired objects, strong desires of desired objects, the strong attachments or ill will feelings, and such as, in that first stages of subsidhana, a strong, passionate desires, and sudden unwholesome thought, ill will feeling and so forth, weary, restlessness, and so are being kind of, discarded, but still, feeling of joy and happiness is maintained, along with certain mental activities, because, okay. And then in second stages of that concentration dhyana, then, you are able to discard, even strong intellectual activities, and there's more tranquilities, and more single-pointed mind, you are able to overcome the gross mind of thinking so much, the gross mind of thinking so much, or analyzing so much, and single-pointed develop. Again, at that time, still the feeling of joy and happiness still maintained, and still there is some, subtle mental activities, not a gross level of mental activities, but still there is a subtle level of mental activities. And in the third stages of dhyana, then you are through, again, practice of by applying the mindfulness, effort, and through that concentrations, then, you are able to discard and overcome even that kind of subtle mental activities, even the, and not only that, you are able to overcome even the feeling of joy, that is the active sensations. And so that is more gross, even that feeling of joy is no more there in that stage, even the feeling of that joy, that's the active sensation, even that is disappeared, while the disposition of happiness still remains. There is still disposition of the happiness is still in that state, in attention to the mindful equanimity. And then on the fourth stages of the dhyana or concentrations, then even that feeling of joy is already no more there. even the feeling of happiness is also disappears. So your mind get more and more subtle and more in that way. It's so subtle. Even the feeling of joy in that, so all sensations, the sensation of joy, as well as all the feeling of happiness, unhappiness, joy, and sorrow all disappear. And what remains is just equanimity, the feeling of equanimity. The feeling of just equanimity, and awareness is what just remains. That is all is remain at that time. Pure, just awareness and equanimity. So one develop those 4 different type or stages of the concentrations. And it is said, the 4th concentrations, is the most kind of the suitable concentration to develop special insight or wisdom. The special is insight of wisdom. So that are part of the right concentration. That with that, then we kind of complete the 6 of 8 noble path. Okay. And next one, next to the right view and the right thought or right intentions are part of the training of the wisdom. So the first 3 part of training of the ethical discipline, then second 3 the part of training mental discipline of concentration, and last 2 are part of training of the wisdom, part of training of the wisdom. So within that, in terms of the right intention, right motivations, is the intentions of renunciations, intention of renunciations, not being attached to the samsara and samsaric experiences, including samsaric pleasure experiences, instead of being attached to them, being detached to them, no interest out of attachment, no interest in the samsaric experiences, even the pleasure ones. Instead, having inspirations to achieve, nirvana, the inspiration to achieve the cessation, nirvana, full liberation, freedom. That mind, is the intention. That is here one of the right intentions. Your intentions should be the inspiration to true liberation, nirvana, freedom, and detach from the samsara and samsaric experience, including the best experience of samsara, not being attached at them. So that is the right intentions, motivations. That should be the right intention and motivation to engage in your path, in your practice, to engage in your practice. If our intentions is to improve and to have more samsaric pleasure experiences, then it doesn't become really true path. You are still lost in samsara. You are still lost in samsara. when we talk about path, we are talking about path to liberate from the samsara, not something that keep you in samsara, something that tied you up in samsara. When you talk about path, the path meaning the path that lead you out of samsara, that liberate you from the samsara. And so therefore, if our intentions of our whatever meditation, whatever practice we do, if our intentions is to gain and to experience samsaric experiences, even the good ones, pleasure ones, still then it doesn't help you to free from samsara, it keep you in samsara. And so therefore that doesn't become a really right path. Real right path is something that helps you to be liberated from the samsara. And so therefore the intention, right intention is that can guide us, that can direct us towards that direction. And also part of right intentions, is the attitude of, loving kindness, compassion, non-violence, towards all sentient beings, And so again, the intentions to engage in our meditation practice on the path is to develop the attitude of non-violence, non-harming, non-hurting towards other sentient beings, each and every sentient beings, is to develop the intention, the attitude, the mind of loving kindness and compassion, and care to each and every sentient beings. So that and therefore, that should be the intention. That should be the intentions, So, out of that renounced mind, out of the intention of renounced mind, not only you want to liberate yourself from the samsara, but also out of compassion, and loving kindness towards others, you want to also help them to liberate each and every sentient beings from the samsara and the cause of samsara. The intentions, the wish, the motivations, to help others, not only to liberate yourself from the samsara, but to help others to liberate from samsara, out of compassion, loving kindness, and not only the wish to achieve yourself, total freedom or liberation or nirvana, but also the wish to lead all sentient beings to that happiness of nirvana, cessation, liberations, so that is the intention, the right intentions. So if the right intentions or right motivations is that one, that should be the intention, the motivating factors for our practice of right speech, for the practice of our right livelihood, for the practice of our right actions. And that should be the guiding factors or intention and motivations for our practice of right mindfulness, of our practice of right effort, for the practice of our right concentrations, and for the practice of our right view. So that should be the actual, guiding, motivating, directing, whatever those practice, any of those Eight Noble path we practice among us, the sevens. This right intention, motivation is the factor that guide them, that lead them, with that right intention, that lead them, if we have done wrong intentions, then, even if we try to practice all others with a wrong intention, then, it doesn't lead to the right direction. It doesn't lead to the real freedom from the samsara. It doesn't lead to the real cessation and nirvana. So therefore, the right intention and right motivation is given a very strong importance in Buddhist teachings and practice. The intentions, the motivations is more important than the action itself. That is the emphasis and practice. Whether your action is violent or not, it depends on your intentions. Your action of smiling to someone with a very evil motivations is act of smiling, the act of violence. Externally, the act of that smiling is not violence, if we just look from the external factors. But if someone is smiling with the evil thoughts, with evil intention, with evil motivations, that act of smiling becomes violence, because that violent mind, because that violent intention, because of that violent motivations. That is, on the other side, the act of, let's say, stern, showing the stern face. That act is, generally speaking, is almost like a violent. But if the intention, motivation is out of compassion to help, to benefit, that sternness, that act of showing a stern face is a non-violence, because of that, right intention, right motivation of true love, compassion. So whether something's violent, non-violent, whether you agree or not agree, that is the, that is the teachings of the Buddhas. We can always agree or disagree. That is our thoughts, our rights, But the emphasis is given more on the intention, motivations. And personally, in my case, I feel that is the, because you can see some people with an evil motivation, intention, and they give money, they give shelters, they take under their care, control, and then they abuse them, And that act of taking under their care, the act of providing them shelter, the act of that providing them the money, education, with that kind of intention to abuse them, all of that act outside, it looks very beneficial, loving, caring, but those are acts of violence, because the intention was never great. Intention was violent, to abuse them, and that. So therefore, on other hand, as a parent, as a friend, as someone who want to help, who want to care others, and they might use different means, skillful means, different way to help, benefit. And sometimes for some, smiling face doesn't help. Stern face might be able to help someone to change someone's harmful behavior, harmful actions, and that the showing of that stern face. Of course, most of the time we show that out of anger, out of frustration, out of hatred. That is totally different. That is totally different. That is violent. There's no doubt. The mind is violent. The actions are violent. But when it is driven with truth, there's nothing to do with frustration, impatience, anger, but pure love, compassion, wanting to support, wanting to help, and trying all their different means, and then sometimes they find showing a stern face, stern action or tough actions, is the only way that can help them from being harmful to themselves and harmful to others. Harmful to themselves and harmful to others. And with that understanding, with that intention, motivations, when someone showed that action of that, then that is, action of love, compassion. And love and compassion is a non-violence. The love and compassion is a non-violence. So the act that is coming through true love, true compassion, true bodhisattva mind, cannot be violent, cannot be violent. How can someone who has true compassion and love and bodhisattva mind towards someone can act violent? It's absolutely not violent. It's just a different means, different skills, different method, different tools, using different tools, different method, so that is where the so we're talking about the right intention, that right motivations, because we're talking about the right intention, and according to some teachers, they say it's interesting how, as part of the Eight Noble Path, how the right intentions is included within the training of the right, within the training of the wisdom, in terms of the training of three high training, the training of ethical discipline, the training of mental discipline or meditative concentration, and the training of wisdom. So last two, the right view and the right intention are part of the training of the wisdom. So, and because it's part of the right training, the wisdom, and therefore, according to some teachers, in order to have true love, true compassion, true that intentions, then we need wisdom. We need the wisdom. If we don't have the wisdom, then it will be hard to develop true love, true compassions, to bodhisattva mind. On the other hand, also it could be also if you don't have the, the right intention of love, compassion, and renunciations, it will be harder to develop the wisdom. It will be harder to develop the wisdom, and so therefore, the right intentions help to develop the wisdom. Also, the wisdom also can help to improve the right intentions. And therefore, according to some of the masters, teachers, the wisdom, it clearly shows that the true wisdom is endowed with those noble qualities, such as the true love, compassion, and so forth, that are the thought of selfless, that are thought of free from the selfish desire and ill will, hatred, and violence, which are the result of lack of wisdom. When you have not enough wisdom, when there's a lack of wisdom, then we become too much selfish. And then we have too much selfish desire. We have too much ill will feeling, hatred, and we engage in the more violence. On other hand, the more wisdom we have, the less selfish you become. The less selfish desire you have, the less ill will feeling you have, the less violent you engage in. When we have the wisdom, the more it helps us to cultivate and develop true love, compassion, and so forth. In such, when you have that kind of wisdom in all sphere of life, whether individual, social, politics, every aspect of the life, the more wisdom you have, the more you are able to help benefit individual, in social environment, in social activities, as well as in politics, economics, in terms of coming out different policy to help benefit the beings that live in the world that we live in, and so then with that, the right intentions is like the method, like sometimes you find in the Buddhist teachings, the method and the wisdom, the method and the wisdom. You often find that the importance of the combinations or the union of the wisdom and the method. So in that case, here the right intentions, include or feel part of the like the method, and then the right view is a part of the wisdom as well, you can say. So with that, I will kind of conclude here today. So if there is a question, I can take maybe one question or two questions. If there is, yeah. If there isn't, then we do the dedications. Okay.
For our dedication list, for obstacles, John Jennings, Daryl Hendrick. All suffering from bitterness, strife, ignorance, and misunderstandings. Persine G, Yvonne B, Laura, Alyssa, Mary J, Regina L, Margaret, and John. Morocco victims, Andrea, Rolf, Robin W, Cordia S, Ali P, Juliana H, Liam and sister, Moses H, and Jessica. For those suffering illness, Rolf, Elena P, Hillary B, Gerard S, Rick M, John, Jim B, Persine G, Terry Bird, Kelly Hauser, Linda W, Patty, Evan Martinez, Tony, Suzanne, Ali P, Ali J, Daryl H, and J M. And for those who have died in the last 49 days, Bill Richardson, Norm, Libyan flood victims, Morocco beings, J Bunker, David L, C H, Tricia Y, Nureddin, and all beings in areas of conflict.
And can I please add Evan Martinez? She just passed away yesterday.
Okay.
And may I add Bill Christmas, who passed on Sunday.
Okay, added. Thank you.
Can I add Porter for death and Brandy for sickness?
Porter and Brandy. Done. Thank you.
Okay. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel Bodhicitta that is not arise and grow, and may that wishes arise and not diminish, but increase more and more. Jigden kamde pende malu ba kangle chungme sambe ishe no gardin chungme tenzin jato la sowa deso tuje lundo sho. Venerable One, to you whose kindly exists, that of all conqueror for those wandering in far off places, especially the West, mindful of your loving concern for us, in intention and descending again into a family of far distant land. We make this request, O Lama, please live long. Fearless teachers and assembly of children of victorious ones, Sabbakas and Pradeka Buddhas, victorious Lawson, father and son, along the lineage masters, all the object of refuge of the infinite land. Please bestow the virtues and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You are the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly to the sake of victorious one's teachings and sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessing of the ocean of three jewels and the great wave of bodhicitta of children of the victorious one, may the smile of reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Good night. And see you next week in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Geshe.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night.